It's that FaceTime that's important right now because people want to see people right now. Everybody's zoomed out right now. So I stopped by and I said, hey, I'm in the area. I just completed a visit with another client. Is Grace in? And she says, I think she's in the meeting, but hold on. So she went in there and then she says, she won't be available till like 2:00. Is there anything that you needed from us or did you want to leave something? I said, yeah, I was in the area, like I said, and I just wanted to stop by and mug her.
Welcome to another deal breakdown episode where we give you the play-by-play and some of the best deals out there. I'm Derek Shebby, and I'm excited to be meeting with Jesse Ramos. He's a fuel management consultant in the oil and energy industry. Welcome, Jesse.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really looking forward to today. Can you give everyone, all the listeners here, a little background on you and you in sales?
So my background consists of the B2B industry. Outside sales is really where my heart is at. And, cold calling is something that most people don't like to do, but I love it. I like being out there shaking hands, getting to meet new people, new companies, and, finding ways to help them grow and protect their business.
Well, how long have you been in B2B sales?
I would say about 23, 24 years. Started off with the copy industry, of course, worked for Canon copier, major copier company.
You can say Canon. That's all good. You work for Canon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A legend
copiers.
Like you can. They probably would want you to say that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, Canon Business Solutions. Worked there for a handful of years, and that's where everything started in the B2B side of things. So from there, went into the wine industry, then the material handling industry, and then that's when I landed into the fuel industry as well. Held anywhere between account management, inside sales, outside sales, sales management positions, and been having lots of fun. Okay,
great. Well, tell me a little bit about the industry you're in right now, the oil and energy industry. You're the first guest that I've had on the podcast from that industry. So just tell me about that industry and how long you've been in it and what are you doing now in the industry?
Sure. So the industry that I'm in right now is, and I continue to work on the outside sales part of it, is in the oil energy. So simply put, it's the fuel industry. What we do is we simply help companies that have a fleet within their business, whether it be executive vehicles to limousines to motor coaches to transportation trucks, and just any company that has a fleet within their organization. There's three things that we provide compared to 84 other fuel companies out there globally. Three that separate us is, number one, the ability to diffuse fraud, because there's so much fraud going on out there in the industry. So we've got a pretty robust system that will help the client and then also keep them in business, because anytime you're hit with fraud, it's a good opportunity for them to exit out of business because of all the financial issues that they may have. Second, the ability to provide wholesale pricing. I try and stay away from pricing, but we do have the capability of providing some good savings for the client, especially if they have more than 30 vehicles. It's going to make a lot of sense for them. And then third, saving them money in a different way, and that would be burden labor. We provide ways that they can efficiently run their business a little bit better than what they're currently doing.
That's great. So what is this company you're working at then that you're doing this at?
The name of the company is AmeriFuel. Our parent company is Christensen. Of course, we're the 8th largest oil company globally. And what's unique about us is that we have not only fleet cards that we provide to companies, again, with fleets, but there's two other platforms that we can help our clients. And that would be one that we call Bulk Tank, which is Fuel Cloud. And then the third one would be wet hosing. So Bulk Tank is simply the new way of fueling. where these companies have a tank in their facility or in their yard, and we'll provide fuel for them. And then basically these tanks have, it's like a laptop that are installed in these tanks, and drivers can fuel from their yard or from their facility, and then head out to their projects and their work that they got to take care of out in the field. And then the third one would be wet hosing. So wet hosing is basically us delivering fuel to the client. They've got about 100 trucks parked, or maybe 100 Ford F-150s or 250s. Maybe it's a construction company, and they're lined up, and we're in there in their yard or in their facility, and we're fueling up each vehicle. And as every vehicle is completed, they'll head out in the field, and so that's called wet hosing.
So basically, it's just helping organizations that have a lot of trucks, a lot of vehicles get filled up, and not have them stop off at every single gas station along the way to do it. You bring it to them, or you provide a place for them to come to fill up those vehicles, and as they travel across the country, different things like that. Yeah, I remember you talking about this in the past. It's always been an interesting industry. So for the listeners out there, Jesse and I have known each other for years now, and he's been just doing unbelievable in his field. And it's he hasn't told me about any deals though, but that's one of the reasons why I really wanted him to get him on this podcast today. But let's talk about the deals that you've been closing then, Jesse. So why did you choose this particular deal that you want to share with us today?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. This deal is definitely an opportunity that I landed as I was out there cold calling out in the field, right? Because you just never know. That's why cold calling is so important. But this deal I chose because not only have I closed the deal, but it's going to continue to be a bigger deal. It's going to flourish because of the additional divisions that they have within their company. It's a $9.6 billion industry, and it is it's a huge elephant. So I'm really excited, and I'm humbled at the same time. So that's the main reason I chose this.
So it's a huge opportunity. So not only did you do great on the deal, it's something that's going to be making you money down the road too. So help the listeners understand a little bit about the size of the deal we're talking about. I mean, in terms of like a budget. So is this like a 1 month budget type deal, a 1 quarter type budget, a full year type budget? What is the impact to you on this deal?
So this deal is 40% of my budget, my annual budget. And so with this deal, it's going to do about, in talking fuel language, it's going to do about 35,000 gallons a month. And so my annual budget is 1.2 gallons of fuel that I need to sell for the year. And so, 35,000 gallons, that's about 40% of my annual budget.
Wow. So that's, talking about 40% of your budget. I mean, that's somewhere between, 1 to 2 quarters, in one deal. That's massive. And the fact that you said that this is just the beginning, this is a whale that you broke into. So it's an even bigger opportunity. It's going to be for you down the road. That's awesome. So how did you first locate this company that you wanted to prospect to? Like, how did you find them? Where did you find them?
Anytime I complete an onboarding meeting or maybe a DM decision maker meeting, if I'm in a particular area, the night before, preparation wise, I'll always take a look at some of the pockets out there to try and maximize my time as I'm out there. The night before, I did take a look at a pocket that I wanted to prospect, and that would be out in the Orange County area. So once I completed my onboarding with a new customer, I went ahead and planned on hitting about 10 to 12 new companies that I looked up. And so there's one in particular that I wanted to look at. It's a well-known brand. They're Globo. And we all know that some of these big opportunities take a little bit longer than expected. So with this one, I went ahead and tried to get in there. They had tight security. Typically what I do is I'll have my business card and of course, some sort of leave behind. And in this case, I couldn't get into the facility or the office. So I seen a driver pull up in one of their vehicles. I just asked him a question. Anytime I want to get in a conversation, I'll ask a question or pay a compliment. And in this case, I paid a compliment. The guy said, thanks. And I just briefly asked him, hey, what's what's the best way to communicate with someone there who makes decisions on, your guys' fuel? And that question is important because he'll, a lot of times it'll open it up to additional answers that I'm looking for. Like maybe they're saying, well, we fuel in the facility or we have fleet cards. And if they say we have a fleet card, then I'll say, well, what kind of fleet card is it? Just dive a little bit more into some of those probing questions. But the idea behind it is to find out who do I need to talk to. And he name dropped a person's name, and so I that works in the facility. So I got the information, and that's pretty much it. My goal is to get people's information, and then do the research, get the information, who the decision makers are, and then from there go back and follow up.
So let me get this straight. You went over to their facility. You didn't. I mean, it's a lot of people there. A lot of things happening over there. You didn't know who to talk to. So a truck drives up with someone in it, and you just start talking to this person, compliment them on something to get the to break the ice, and then start asking qualifying questions on who you should be reaching out to for your cold calling efforts and things like that, and qualifying about how they're paying for things today, just to see if they're using things that your company could actually help them with. Is that correct?
Correct. And who the competition was as well.
And who the competition was. Perfect. Okay. So then you get this information. And now from here, what was your first prospecting touch like? Like, what did you do?
After that, they say the fortune's in the follow-up, right? So I did make a phone call to that person, the guy that, he gave me his name and his phone number, and went ahead and called, and didn't answer the first time. Called back later in the afternoon. He answered and just made a quick introduction. My name's Jesse. I represent a company called Mary Fuel, and we're in the fuel management industry, and just wanted to see if there'd be someone there that I can speak to regarding their second operating costs, which is fuel. And I just paused, and he says, well, we don't make those decisions here, but let me give you a phone number that you may want to contact. So I got the phone number, and looked like an East Coast phone number, right? So called that number and left a message for a person. It was a female, and she seemed to sound like an executive. Left a message, and interesting enough, she called me back within about 20 minutes. I wasn't able to pick up the phone because I was on another call, but I did get the voicemail. She introduced herself. She says, I understand that you're looking for someone to talk to regarding fuel. And that was it. So I didn't call that same day. I called the next day. She didn't answer. I left a voicemail, but she called me back right away. So she seemed to be like she was on top of it, but I did answer the phone. And that's when everything started. We had a pretty good conversation. I introduced myself, and she says, just like any other big company would say, well, send me some information. I'll take a look at it. And I think we all know that a lot of times when you send information or drop off information, that tends to go in the trash or probably delete it or maybe never looked at. I said, yeah, great. I'd be happy to do that. Would it be safe to follow up on this date? I have my calendar open right now. She says, well, I've got my calendar. I'm at my desk. Sure. Why don't you follow up with me on this date? I said, great. What time works best for you? And she gave me the time. And anyways, long story short, we booked a meeting, an intro meeting, and she just told me a little bit about what they do, and that was it. It was a quick conversation. Again, I didn't want to spend too much time. I just wanted to get baby steps in with her, and then we scheduled that meeting. So
the contact that you called from your territory, which is in Orange County, so the West Coast, told you that this is a corporate decision. I mean, there's a lot of, I know B2B salespeople can relate to this, where you find that there's a corporate decision and you say, shoot, well, they could either be brushing me off, like there's no opportunity here, or maybe there's something for me to actually do with this. And sometimes we follow up on it and sometimes we don't. I guess why did you, just going back to that really quick, why did you decide this account was worth you following up?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, gut feeling is always a good thing to follow. Number two, I spend time doing the research on some of these companies. So I always think about what is my time worth, right? When you're doing research and about to go out and cold call. So that's very important. So I want to maximize that as best as I can. And then third, it's a well-known brand. I knew for a fact, that they're in a $9.6 billion industry. So obviously it's a good business, and they generate some revenue. So.
Okay. You found that it was worth your time. You said, okay, I'll roll the dice on corporate. You called corporate. I'm surprised someone called you back, but that's great. That means your message,
Right.
your voicemail must have been pretty solid to get them to call you back. So you end up talking to her. She said, send me some information. Were you able to set up your first appointment with her on that call right there? Or did you have to wait to send her information for her to review it, and then you follow up, and then from there set an appointment?
Yeah, so I sent her the information, and then, as mentioned earlier before, obviously she never looked at it. So I did follow up on that date that we talked about, but we did end up scheduling an appointment. So I had two appointments: one, follow up to see what she thought about the information, and then two, the main appointment. It was more of an introductory and kind of pre-qualify her more. I did tell her, though, because it's such a big opportunity, that I was going to have a couple of people jump on the call as well. We set up a Teams meeting conference call. And so I invited two family members of the company and a couple other individuals that were going to play a big part, because earlier I mentioned that there are three types of services that we offer. And so because this opportunity is so big and they're going to need additional services, I wanted to include those other people as well.
Great.
And so we just, yeah.
So that was the first appointment. The Teams, so it was virtual, because you're not going out there to the East Coast for this quick meeting, right? So good, so nice. So you, one of the benefits of the pandemic is your virtual selling skills went up. That's good. That's good.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that first appointment and how that went.
It went really well. It was an introduction. She pulled someone in as well. She pulled a gentleman in as well. And then I had 4 additional people on our team join the call. We just, made an introduction. They didn't turn their cameras on. A couple other people didn't turn them on. We had, there's not everybody had their camera on, but it was about the conversation, and there's no presentation, just simply an introduction to both of us, and turned out to be really good. We got some good information from them, what their ideal fuel management program would look like. And again, the intention wasn't to sell them on anything or try to propose. We just simply, wanted to introduce ourselves, but they initiated the information that they wanted to give us. So I did take note, and then we set up next steps.
Nice. What did you find were the biggest challenges they were facing?
Yeah, one of them was having convenience, the ability to have a fuel provider that can handle each and every state that they work in, as well as 4 provinces in Canada. So they needed someone to be more international versus just local.
That's fantastic. You guys can do that. So from there, you're closing for a next step. What was the next step in this situation?
Typically, when I have a meeting, I'll always kind of a little bit old fashioned, I'll send them a thank you card, handwritten thank you card with a Starbucks gift card. And so that's usually my next step. So they received that. They were gracious about that. And then the next step was really just start working on a proposal. Got the proposal done, sent it over, but that's when everything kind of stalled. Everything just went quiet, and never heard from them. I did follow up with them as well, and that was it. It lasted for a few months.
Okay, let's pause here, because I'm glad you talked about that it stalled, because this was sounding too amazing here, Jesse. I know the listeners are probably going like, "Come on, right. Tell me, give me the timelines in here, Derek." So if you look back to your first touch, the first time you walked on this lot and complimented one of the drivers to get this information, from that date, to the different dates, can you give us a little bit of a timeline of events?
So from that day, it was January of 2022. It went all the way through June. So maybe the first 3 months, there was some activity going on back and forth. And then for the last 3 months, actually 8, 9, 10, 11 months, there was just no next steps at all.
You connected with her. What did you connect with her in January too, or was that like that February when you first connected with her?
So it was January, February, and March. We had some activity going on. There was a last touching point in March where I can give you that information after additional questions.
So then once you started putting together the quote, was that March timeframe?
That was like in late February.
So they've gone dark on you and you haven't heard from them for a while. I guess, what did you do to re-engage, to re-engage these guys, get them to come back and talk to you? What happened?
So in June of 2022, she connected me with another division. Earlier in the call, I had mentioned that there's 3 divisions. I realized that when I contacted them, they were the international division. They have 2 other divisions. They have the national and then they have the express. In June, when I followed up, she says, why don't you guys go ahead and talk to this person at this division? We'd like to get you guys going there. So I didn't realize till about August that they were moving forward, but they were making a transition and they were putting us over to a different division to test us out, to see what we're about, and then to see, what they thought about us. And during this whole process, I'm thinking, I think we're moving on to a bigger, better deal. So they moved us down to a different division. And so that's when I met that particular division and that decision maker.
So what's this time frame that you're in right now? Like what are we talking about?
Sure. So that's June. And then spoke with them, made an introduction. We had some activity going on. Long story short, it's about 4 months, June through July, August, September, October. And with them, that particular division, after setting everything up, doing an analysis, getting some information, providing a proposal for them, our recommendations, that particular division stalled as well. And the reason for it's because we're entering their peak time.
Okay, so this is stalled around what time frame? Are we still in June here?
So the introduction was made from the international division to the national division, June. And then again, we had some activity, June, July, August, September. And then September is when we gave them the recommendations and gave them a proposal. So,
okay. So I'm curious. I mean, did you run up against competition anywhere here?
There's always competition and big opportunities. The best way to break this down is anytime you have a company that has a fleet between 20 to about 70 vehicles, you're going to have about 6 to 8 competitors involved in that deal, whether it be proposals, some sort of communication. You're going to have that many competitors. Because earlier I said there's 84 fuel companies out there,
84?
Yep.
84.
But we're all different. We all provide different services. But the majority do provide fleet cards, which is fuel cards. By that time, September, we're going into their peak times, understanding that's their peak time. I still continue to follow up, but never heard back from them. So from September all the way through January, about the second week, that's when everything kind of slows down because their peak time, holidays and e-commerce and all that good stuff is pretty much done.
What happened to push this thing to the next step then?
I made a decision to drop in, right? We all know about the drop-ins. And so
Yeah.
Earlier I mentioned I'm a little old-fashioned, the thank you card and the gift card, Starbucks, and because it makes a difference, even though it's kind of old school, it's new for people that have been zoomed out, if you will, because everybody's been on Zooms and webinars and all that good stuff. So you got to field. I stopped by and the night before I put together, a couple of coffee mugs and I filled them up with Hershey's Kiss chocolate.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
Yeah. So what I did is I stopped by I knew that they had their executive meetings on that particular day. on a Friday, and I just stopped by, and the receptionist already knew me because I've had some activity, as mentioned earlier, in the past. Again, it's that FaceTime that's important right now because people want to see people right now. Everybody's zoomed out right now, so I stopped by and I said, "Hey, I'm in the area. I just completed a visit with another client. Is Grace in?" And she says, "I think she's in a meeting, but hold on." So she went in there, and then she says, "Oh, she won't be available till like 2 o'clock. Is there anything that you needed from us, or did you want to leave something?" I said, "Yeah, I was in the area, like I said, and I just wanted to stop by and mug her." So that's when I pulled out the
Oh
mug.
man.
Yeah, the mug filled with Hershey's Kisses because I knew she liked chocolate. Long story short, I left the coffee mug with our logo on it, and I just put a little note, and I said, "Just wanted to follow up. Hope all is well. I'm sure you had a busy peak time. Looking to see if we can move forward." I just straightforward asked if we can move forward because you got to ask. If you don't ask, you'll never know. And so, yeah, so that was like late January. And then about a week and a half after, going into February, I just received an email, and that was a signed proposal to move forward with 200 vehicles for this particular division. To start off, again, it's much bigger than what I expected. So yeah, 200 vehicles is it's a
Big deal.
big deal.
That's a real big deal. Wow. That's awesome. So I guess looking back at this deal, because this one, it took you, just looking at it, sounds like it took you 13 months, almost 14 months to get this thing from the beginning to the end. 14 months hanging in on this account. What are three things that you think won this deal for you?
Yeah, there's two different types of activities, Derek. A swirl of activity with absolutely no direction, where you think you have good activity, but there's really no direction. And then there's the persistent professional business model activity, which means that, you're organized, you're prepared, and you know where you're going. You know what you got going on for the next day. And I've learned from the wine industry, they have a nice sales boot camp there. It's one of the things that stuck with me was that preparation the night before. And same thing with the week. I always start my week on a Sunday evening because that's going to make a big difference in the week. So that's one. Number two is professional persistence. You don't want to be a pessimist. You want to be professional. You got to know your guidelines and your boundaries. And that comes with, experience. And then also just doing the right follow-up, the right touches, whether it be a drop-in, an article, an email, or, the coffee mug like I did. So,
I mean, those are things you could apply to any deal. Like that's good words of advice, being prepared for your week, professional persistence, like you mentioned, and the follow-ups, things like that. Are there specific things that you can look back on this company that you closed that they were the exact things that you think won the deal for you?
Just the research is important. Really listening to that prospective client, trying to figure things out where this is leading to, taking copious notes because that really helped me out a lot, going back to my notes and just following through with what their expectations are. I think that's important.
Good. Now, what about things that you would have done differently?
Maybe getting more people involved because it's such a big deal. And now I have more people involved, more divisions within our organization because this deal is it's not done yet. We're still moving forward because they got two other divisions. And it's going to continue to grow. And it's going really well. We're actually participating in their trade show this coming year as well. So things are moving along really good, including more of our team because it is a big deal. And then the other thing would be just keeping the person that I connected with at that corporate level posted a little bit more. I mean, I did communicate with her. Things turned out really well, but I think maybe more communication would have probably worked out for me as well.
Yeah, maybe keeping them in the loop might have helped speed it up, I guess, in some ways, instead of having to take as long as it could have. Well, yeah, man, what a deal! If you think about it, I mean, I know last year was a good year for you. I forget, did you make President's Club last year?
I did.
You
Yes.
did. Okay. So here's you. You made President's Club that last year. So it's not like you were just waiting on this whale the whole year. You were working on this while you were working on other deals throughout the whole year. And then here we go, 14 months later or 13 months later, after you initially cold called it, this thing finally comes through and it's 40% of your budget this year. I mean, and we're just starting out the year, you guys. This is the beginning of the year when we're recording this. So, I mean, that's fantastic, but I think it's even more is to show that you are constantly prospecting to still end up being making your plan and overachieving your plan for your year, even while you're waiting for something like this and working on it in the background. So awesome. Any final words of wisdom that you could share with the audience to help them find more value in their deals and get more deals like this for themselves too?
Yeah, Derek. And before that, I did want to say it was an 8-month opportunity, 13 months with the international, and that's still play. But the one that took 8 months was the other division. Didn't want to confuse you there, but it took me 8 months to get that particular division, but I'm still working on the international, which is a 13 month. Any tips would be, I would say preparation is key. Something that you've taught me in the past, and taking some of your courses as well. And you're just never too good to learn. I think personal development would be the biggest recommendation for anybody. Again, you're constantly learning. If you're not learning, you're going to be stale. So having mentors, a coach, and peers that you can talk to is a big deal.
Well, I'm so glad you're in my Outliers community right now, Jesse. You're one of those top reps that other people can learn from too. So yeah, one deal was 8 months, and you knew the exact amount of time. Yeah, 8 months. The other one's 13 months. Man, it takes time to learn to be patient with these larger transactions. But I'm fired up for you to continue to get more deals with this one. So if any of the listeners wanted to reach out to you further to learn more about you or to get some ideas from you on some of the things that they're working on, what's the best way to do that?
I would say a LinkedIn is a good way to reach out to me. And then I've got an email, fuelcloudbiz@gmail.com. So that's FUELCLOUDBIZ@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure I put both of those in the show notes. This has been great, Jesse. I really appreciate you taking the time, to share all this information with our people today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Derek. I appreciate it.
Well, hey, everyone, that's it for today's session. Thank you so much, Jesse, for helping all of our fellow B2B salespeople out there improve their sales skills. For our listeners, if you like today's highlights, be sure to check out our summary on modernSalesTraining.com. Have a great sales week, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast and you're a B2B salesperson looking for extraordinary results, you have to check out my Outliers community. It's my monthly coaching program where we build the skills and habits needed to take your sales results far beyond your peers and out to where the highest income earners are in your industry, or as I call them, the outliers. Join me in the Outliers community at www.modernSalesTraining.com/outliers. Make sure you type modernSalesTraining.com/OUTLIERS. I'd love to have you join me in my Outliers community. See you there.